Good morning, everyone, and welcome to yet another Savvy Seniors Living seminar. I am your host and moderator, Dana Wilson, with Keller Williams Realty here in the East Bay, and I'm a seniors real estate specialist and a certified senior housing professional. And I just love bringing important information and gathering expert local panelists together for you for these free seminars. We are now in our fourth full year, and I really hope and pray that you've been getting nuggets of wisdom all along. You're picking up new information as we go. Some of the topics are repeated for our groupies that are on today, yet even when we have some of the same panelists and we have new panelists, there's always new information. There's always something new going on in the realm of senior housing related issues and topics here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So, you know, older adults, I think, have more living options than ever. And I think some are unaware of all of the different possibilities and opportunities out there. And so I think that makes it a little harder to convince people to start exploring some of these options because it can be really challenging. So some people feel like there's not enough information out there. Some people say you go on the internet and it's overwhelming how much information is out there. There's not really one place that hosts and holds all this information for people that are trying to understand where the best place would be for them to maybe consider down the road. And you know me, I'm always standing on my soapbox saying, please, 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 let's start creating that short and long-term plan, right? You may not ever even use the plan, but create a plan and think about, you know, what you want your lifestyle to look like down the road, maybe in the next few years. You know, maybe part of it is aging in place, staying in your own home. Maybe it's aging in place, staying in a beautiful townhome in Rossmore. Maybe it's staying, aging in place at a life plan community. Maybe it's local, maybe it's out of state. So many different opportunities and options. So your homework today is grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, take some notes. We're going to make sure that you get all the information from all these wonderful panelists in our follow-up email. And while you're listening to these wonderful people, these wonderful experts seasoned in this arena of senior housing, consider your interests, your financial situation, the location of your family and friends, your doctors, possibly your church, and start to envision how you would want to live your life to the absolute fullest. I mean, this is your one life, right? So let's make the best of it. Then choose that place that you think would be the best fit. And remember, nothing's forever. Some people move once from their, we jokingly say, McMansion homes, you know, the tri-level with all the stairs and the pool and the 5 bedrooms. And maybe they have an interim move and then maybe they actually move again because things continue to change in life. So take some time with this first step while you're doing your homework, you're envisioning, and pat yourselves on the back for attending today because it's a great first step in gathering information. A lot of people intend never to move, but you just never know. I mean, it's like having a plan in case of a fire or a storm. You may never intend to need a plan for the what ifs, but guess what? It's just really smart to have one. So with that in mind, I'm going to start asking our panelists to introduce themselves. So Barbara, you're the first one I see on my little picture there. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do, where you work, so we can get to know you a little better.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. And hello, my name is Barbara Gilbert. I am the marketing director at Stone Ridge Creek. Stone Ridge Creek is a life plan community or continuing care retirement community located in Pleasanton, California. Obviously, California, sorry. We opened about 7 or 8 years ago, and I have been involved with the project since about 5 or 6 years before we opened. So I've been here nearly 14 years, but I've been in the aging adult housing industry for about 5 years longer than that. So it's been nearly 20 years now. And that's my quick introduction.
Time flies when we're having fun, right,
Yeah,
Barbara?
yeah, absolutely.
Michelle, who are you? Introduce yourself, please.
Well, good morning. Good morning. My name is Michelle White. I am the sales and marketing director at the Watermark at San Ramon. I've been working in senior living for over 40 years. It's all I've ever done. It is my true passion, and I love it, love it. And I'm just so happy to have this opportunity to be part of this panel. So thank you.
Oh, we're thrilled to have you. I'm so glad you could make it. Mr. O'Keefe.
Good morning, Dana. Good morning, everybody. So I am, my name is Tim O'Keefe. I'm the CEO at the Rossmore Adult Retirement Community in Walnut Creek. Been involved with housing, homeowners associations, independent senior housing, congregate living, assisted living for more than 25 years throughout California and some other states. Rossmore has 6,700 homes. They're independently owned, and we have about 10,000 residents.
It's a great place. All these places are great places. So we're just going to jump in, and I'll tell you, the purpose of this is that I've been working with so many individuals and couples, and they're all on this journey. And so I've been working with John and Mary, and we started out by having a consultation actually in their home, socially distanced and masked. And, you know, they are really wanting to talk about all their options and what they should do next and what to consider. And so really, I want to remind people that we actually have a workbook. I mean, here's some questions to consider. We've got questions when you're touring different places. We break out all the senior living options in here. So there's a lot of good information that we will use when we do our consultation. But they have some friends that live in Rossmore. They've been to Rossmore for a couple different functions. And so they decided that they wanted to go look at Rossmore. So Rossmore is the kind of place where you do purchase. And so I was fortunate enough to tour them around some different places based on their specific criteria and needs, because there's so many different options at Rossmore. It's just amazing. But I want Tim to talk about, you know, what should they expect if they were to move to Rossmore? Let's talk about what you get. Why would someone move to a 55 plus adult active community like a Rossmore and not move to any old, you know, townhome or condo, maybe outside of a community like that? So would you share that so that John and Mary will kind of get a feel and a flavor for what the heck they would get?
So I think the key word that you used was the word active, and that I think is what makes a community like Rossmore, or you know, the Trilogy properties that are out in the East County, or any other retirement community. That's where you own your own home. That's really the difference, is that there's so much to do here. There are, as I said, 10,000 residents. There's about 6,700 homes. We have a mix of different housing types. You've got condominiums. You have things called stock co-ops, which are a different type of ownership. And we have a small number of single-family homes, and they range in prices from even less than $200,000 every once in a while. You'll see one on the market at that price, all the way up to in excess of $2 million. So a huge array of housing types. There's, I think, 117 different floor plans amongst all the different housing units here. You can come and go as you please. It's not assisted. If you need assistance, you get that on your own. You contract with your own care provider. There's not meals, with one exception. One of our 21 homeowners associations is a congregate housing arrangement. There's 300 homes in that particular homeowners association. It's called the Waterford, and they do have congregate living, which means that they have housekeeping and they have a dining program. So there's a dining, very, very nice dining room, and but you also have kitchens. You own your own home, so you have a kitchen in your home. You're welcome to cook your own meals if you want. So, and I think the other thing that's unique perhaps here is that pets are allowed throughout all of the homeowners associations. Rossmore is not a independent entity in terms of it being a city or anything like that, or a town. Rossmore is a neighborhood within the community of Walnut Creek, the city of Walnut Creek, and it's behind a gate. So you can't just drive up and say, I want to drive through the property and take a look at homes here. You do have to contact a realtor like Dana Wilson or her colleagues, and they have to show you the housing types and homes that are available for sale here. What else? Just in terms of activities, Rossmore is a really, really busy place. We have a lot of clubhouses. We have more than 250 clubs. We have 4 pools. There's 6 clubhouses, 2 golf courses, 30,000 square foot fitness center that we recently renovated to the tune of $10 million just for the fitness center.
Wow.
We have a bus service so if you want to, as you age in places you talked about earlier, and you need, maybe you aren't comfortable driving any longer, or your doctor, your family has taken away your keys, you can still live independently in Rossmore by using the bus service, which takes you downtown, takes you to BART, takes you to the theaters downtown. It can get you all around the campus here to the various clubhouses and activities. So people can stay independent here for a very, very long time. I think I saw a report just recently that we have, I think, about 700 residents over the age of 90. So it's, and we have a lot of centenarians as well. So as I said, it's a busy place. Last year, we had 22,000 events scheduled on our campus in our various facilities. So just to give you an idea of how busy this place is. Now, I should say last year, I should qualify that. In 2019, we had 22,000 events. Last year, we had virtually nothing because everything's been closed because of the pandemic. But once things open up again, you can take advantage of tennis and pickleball. We have a dedicated table tennis facility, a lapidary, a wood shop, art studio, sewing room, ceramic studio with more than a dozen kilns, billiards hall, bocce, a movie theater, 3 lawn bowling greens, 7 miles of wilderness trails to hike. We have a world-class entertainment venue at our event center. We have a full-service restaurant on campus. So we have a movie theater. I mean, the list goes on, and that's not even, I didn't even list all of them. There's just a lot to do here. You have to work hard to be bored, but I will tell you that Rossmore is not for everyone. So if you need other levels of assistance, and I would encourage people to look at other types of facilities, and we're going to get to that in just a moment. But as I said, you can live independently here with your own caregiver, but that's not a service that we provide. You have to get that on your own. What else? So I think it's important when people are evaluating, places that they're going to live to retire in. And as you mentioned, Dana, we go through stages, right? You retire, you're probably still active. You want to, play golf or tennis or whatever, or participate in a club or 10 clubs or whatever. All of that works well in a community like Rossmore. But as we age, and maybe as some of our faculties decline a little bit, hearing, perhaps our eyesight, it may not be the best choice for people. And I have heard from a couple of people who have bought here and were unhappy. It's rare, but it happens. And it was interesting. One of these residents told me, she said that she was selling her home. She didn't like it after just a few months, and gonna go find another place to live. And I asked her why, and she said, there wasn't anything for me to do. Nobody came knocking on my door. And that, in order to live in an active retirement community, if you put in just a little bit, it comes back to you in multiple dividends. But if you are not willing to put yourself out there, no one's going to come knocking on your door.
No.
You've got to go and get involved, sign up for a club, get involved, attend an event, attend a show. We have live concerts, live speakers, live entertainment, live theater. I mean, there's so much to do here. You really have to work hard to be bored.
Yeah.
So if you are not interested, if you are somebody who just stays closed up in your home, that's fine. You can do that. We provide internet is included in your package, as well as Comcast TV. So you can stay home and be entertained. If that's your thing, that's fine. But if you're looking and waiting for somebody to come knocking on your door, that isn't going to happen. You got to come down to one of our facilities, come down and get a cup of coffee, come down to the restaurant and meet people. And very quickly, everybody's in the same boat. There was nobody that lives in Rossmore that was born here. So that's different than any other city or community anywhere else. You have to be 55 and above to live in Rossmore. So everybody that moves here is in exactly the same boat. They know nobody usually when they move in, and so they get involved. And like I say, it doesn't take much to get involved and engaged and active, and you're going to meet many friends. I've had many people tell me that the best years of their lives have been the years that they've lived in Rossmore. I've heard that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. So Rossmore has a lot to offer, but you do have to, step foot outside of your unit in order to experience it. But I definitely would encourage people to talk to Dana and a local realtor that is familiar with Rossmore. There are a lot of nuances to the Rossmore community. There's a lot of rules. Every homeowners association has its own set of rules and requirements. So you just have to make sure by using a realtor familiar with Rossmore, you will get the best. You will find the best living arrangement, the best home. You will be educated as to what the various requirements are for whatever homeowner association you choose to live in. We have run into issues with realtors who are not familiar with Rossmore, and maybe they're a family member or a friend, and they do it for little or no money as a favor to their friend, and they get involved in Rossmore, and it isn't what they thought because the realtor just couldn't educate them. They didn't like the rules. They thought they could paint their home a different color, the exterior. They thought, all these things which you cannot do in a homeowners association without the
Right.
approval of the governing body.
Right.
So that's Rossmore.
Wow, that was awesome. That was a great overview. And I will tell you that your website is phenomenal. I mean, there's more information on that website, rossmore.com, than you'd ever have time to really read. But there are a lot of nuances. I always lovingly call Rossmore its own little animal. You guys have very unusual and unique policies and rules that you do have to follow. But I know, I've had clients that are just they're just madly in love with the fact that they chose to move there. I don't even know if you mentioned the farmers market, the dog park. It's a beautiful valley. I've got clients that have moved there that immediately joined the hiking club. And then it's different because some of them, there's no steps. Some of them, there are steps. Some of them, it's an elevator building. And like Tim said, 21 different HOAs, or what they call mutuals, and many different models within each of those. And even if you think, oh, well, I think I like the Golden Gate model or whatever, well, just wait, because people may have remodeled that model and now it looks quite different. They've enclosed decks or what have you. So lots of opportunity at Rossmore. It is a beautiful place. It's got a lot of things to offer to active, independent adults, really. So that is awesome. But, and John and Mary, they did visit with me and they loved it. And so that is sort of on their short list of their short-term plan, because they really are ready to get rid of their big house. They're over it. They only use so many rooms in their house. They've got a big, gorgeous house. But it's on their short list for sure. But they're also thinking, well, what if something happens to one of us? What if we don't want to live alone? And like Tim said, nobody's bringing us meals, nobody's cooking. What if Mary passes away before John? And he's not really a really good cook. So, it's that kind of a thing. So I'm going to have Michelle talk about assisted living as an option, because, they've been driving around and they see the sign for Watermark, and Watermark's a new, shiny, beautiful place. And they want to learn a little bit more about Watermark, but assisted living in general. And so why don't you jump in, Michelle, and share with us what assisted living is, what it is not, and what they might expect if they were to move to an assisted living community.
Sure. Okay. Well, the first thing I want to say about assisted living is we are licensed by the Department of Social Services, and I've given many presentations to people, and the number one question they say is, well, what if I don't need assistance? Why would I move to your community? And so this is one of the misconceptions. You can still move to an assisted living community even if you don't need any assistance, but maybe you want some of what we call the bells and whistles. And what those would be the dining. So we do offer a very lovely dining program, 3 meals a day. We have an anytime dining menu. We have a bistro, complimentary snacks and beverages, and nobody loses weight working here or living here. I can tell you that. So that's one thing. So it's, scheduled transportation. We have staff in the community 24/7. So if you need something, we have a concierge 12 hours a day that can help you with dry cleaning and packages. And so we've just got a lot of team members and associates here to support you and to simplify some of those stresses of daily living so you can have some fun. And we're talking about 2019 and before fun. So hopefully, as Tim said, we offer a lot of programs, activities, lifelong learning classes, or we will be. Watermark Assisted Living has a special programs. They have something called Watermark University. So in addition to our activity calendar, it's another layer of lifelong learning classes, culinary classes, artistic classes for residents. So again, as Tim said, if you're bored here, something's wrong, so you just step outside your door and there's always something to do or someone to visit with, coffee in the bistro. So besides staff on duty, we, sometimes that's peace of mind for people. Couples are very attracted to assisted living because perhaps one spouse has, some physical limitations or some cognitive limitations, and they just want to be in a place where they know they can live, and as time goes on, or if things progress, they can get that support. That support will come to them, will come to their apartment home, and they don't need to move again. So it's just really, it's a supportive community. We're all family, we're all a team, and we support each other. We do encourage independence. We definitely don't want to render our residents dependent on us. We have many residents that drive, they still volunteer, and they still have active lifestyles, and we promote that. One thing assisted living is it's not a medical community. So we do have nurses on staff, but it's not a skilled nursing. If a resident has intensive medical needs, invasive medical needs, such as, just heavy medical care needs, assisted living may likely not be able to support their needs. But we do have nurses on staff at the better part of a day. So we also have a memory care. So part of our building is assisted living and half of our building is memory care. So we are finding that there's a lot of interest in memory care. We have 40 private suites, and so basically it's a controlled access. We have a beautiful patio. Residents can walk about. Families can visit on the patio. It's a very supportive, simplified living situation. But our residents have their own private suites. They bring their own furniture. They have lovely windows looking over the hillside in Las Trampas. So it's very nice. And again, excellent programs to help stimulate socialization. And we want to focus on what our residents can do and not what they can't do. That's really our goal.
So let me bring a couple of things up because that's awesome. So you mentioned something. So you mentioned obviously the lifelong learning, maybe the chef classes, things like that. Would if I move there with my hubby, do we have our own kitchen also?
You have a kitchenette.
Okay.
So we do have a kitchenette. It does not have a stove or an oven.
Okay, perfect. But I have my microwave. I need my microwave.
You've got your microwave, Dana. You've got it.
Got to have my microwave.
For your popcorn.
You also mentioned something else, which I don't always see when I'm helping people tour different communities, is memory care with your own suite. I've actually seen some memory care rooms where they share. And I don't know, I guess every place is different in that regard.
It is. Every place is different. You know, I think that I've worked in places, communities that have shared and not have shared. I think it's really the preference. When you're looking at memory care, you're really educating and talking to the adult child, so to speak. So
Of course.
perhaps not the prospective resident. And I think in my experience, it's been, you know, I think people want their own space, their own private space that they can decorate and make their own with their own, you know, treasured mementos and furnishings and things like that. So,
Of course. And what about pets and transportation? You mentioned, I think you mentioned transportation, but pets, levels of care. I mean, people hear about levels, point system. You know, if I start needing some assistance, but not, well, like, talk to me about that real quickly.
okay. So we are a pet friendly community.
Yay.
We do have spaces for residents to walk their dogs. So we love people to bring their furry friends, and we all have our own pets, so we bring them as well. We do have transportation, scheduled transportation. Our transportation director used to work at Black Tie. He is more of a chauffeur, so he's amazing. So we love him. His name is Roger.
Nice.
And let's talk about the care for a second. So the care there's a graduated care. So we don't have levels here at the Watermark at San Ramon, and we don't have tiers. We just have an extremely comprehensive menu of services. And it's a menu much like at a restaurant, you pick and choose. If you don't need any assistance, then you don't need any assistance, and that's fine. But when things start changing, or you decide, you know, I don't want to do my medications anymore, I don't want to hassle with that, we will take over that for you. We built in minutes of care in our monthly fees, so that's a benefit. So it really just depends on the number of assisted services, the frequency we're providing assistance, and the degree of assistance. So is it reminders or is it maximum assistance? So that's how we formulate our care. But it's a very comprehensive menu, and with the nursing staff here, you know, they're on top of things, and if things change rapidly, we can jump in and help. And if things maintain great, then that's wonderful as well.
Got it. And so what would John and Mary need to know if they wanted to schedule a tour? And then how would they compare and contrast, for instance, your community to all the others locally, or maybe even out of the area?
Well, if they wanted to schedule a tour, we are doing either virtual tours or in-person scheduled tours.
Great.
You have a tour path, and we do, you know, we're very careful with that, and we do sanitize between appointments. So that would be wonderful. We can accommodate either. And what's different and better about the Watermark? What's different? I have to say, I've worked in several communities. This community is the least, it looks like a very beautiful resort. You walk in the front doors, there's 40-foot ceilings. It's beautiful. It's located right next to San Ramon Regional Medical Center, which is amazing. It's a great location. I think they would just find it's like walking into a beautiful hotel in Yosemite. It's craftsman style, it's warm, it's welcoming. There are huge windows looking over the hills, and there's a double-sided fireplace in the lobby that you can't help but feel warm, relaxed, and comfortable when you walk in the door. And you're greeted by friendly people who have a passion for helping people and having fun and being supportive. And I think it's all about the feel. It's all about the vibe and the people. And of course, geography and finances are a huge part of that as well. But I think
what should people expect, though, as far as studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, square footage? I mean, I've had some people say, no, studio's great, because I'm just going to be out and about and having fun all the time. Other people want a little bit more square footage and their walk-in closets and their high ceilings and their views and their patios and their decks. So I think that sort of varies by community as well, right?
It does. So we do have studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. We actually do have some 1 bedrooms that have a patio,
Mhm.
which is very nice. We have high ceilings throughout the whole community. They're very high ceilings, big windows, lots of natural light, lots of common areas, outdoor walking path. You can beautiful views. So we've got lots of options. Financially, the range is between or month to month. So there's
Yes.
no buy-in, there's no entrance fee.
There's
So
no entrance fee?
There's no entrance fee. There's no entrance fee.
No one-time entrance fee.
There's a community fee, but there's no buy-in entrance fee is what I'm saying. So there is a community fee.
Right.
And our rates are between $5,695 a month to $8,295 a month. So,
but we should probably share, Michelle, that in general in our East Bay communities, I think I've seen the range actually like from the 3,000s all the way up to 10,000.
mhm.
So again, it does vary, and that's part of someone's homework is to, and their financial wherewithal is to kind of understand what a good fit would be for their finances as well as their lifestyle and the amenities that they want. And then another difference is some places you didn't share how large yours was, but some are much smaller, a little bit more intimate, and then some are much larger and have a lot more suites or units or apartments or whatever. And so that might be another thing for people to consider. And also like Rossmore and like Stonebridge Creek and like really the majority of these places, do you want outdoor space? Like to me personally, I need outdoor space. I need to feel the wind on my face and hear the birds chirping and, be able to go outside with my cup of coffee. And I know some places have a patio, some places have a deck, and some don't. So that would be another thing to consider, right? When you're out looking around at places. And then also I bet you have a workout room and a gym and exercise classes and.
We do. We have a gym. We have, it's a fitness room. It's a small fitness room,
Right.
Exercise equipment, and we will have classes. We have an internal courtyard. We have several outdoor areas peppered along the outside of the community for seating, visiting. We have an outdoor gas burning sort of a fire pit with rocking chairs around it in the front overlooking the hills.
Pretty.
So there are a lot of options. We like to call ourselves boutique. We have 39 assisted living and 40 memory care. So 79 apartments in total. So not huge, not tiny, just in the middle of the road.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's great. So again, yet another thing, we're just giving all the attendees things to be taking notes on and to be thinking about, right? Awesome. Well, it sounds like a great place. I'm excited to, get together with you and check it out because you're newer, right? You didn't share that.
My gosh, how did I miss that?
I don't know.
We are new. We opened November 9th of 2020. So we are fairly new.
No, that's new. Really, that's new because there's a lot of places that have been here for a good long time. Okay, well, that is awesome. And remember, folks, if you want to ask a question, you can put it in the Q&A. We'll try to get to that at the end. But, I know John and Mary are looking forward to touring and asking you some of these questions and really digging into what is important to them and how it might be a good fit or not, or assisted living in general. And it's interesting that you have memory care, and I know many communities do, and then actually many don't. And there are some standalone memory care places. So that's yet another thing to consider what would be a good fit. And I would guess that it couples really enjoy having a memory care there, so that if their loved one needs a little bit more attention, that they can be together and
exactly
every single day. Yeah.
Exactly, Dan.
Well, so John and Mary, they're thinking they're pretty smart now because they're going on all these tours and seeing all these places, and they're taking notes and they're using their workbook and they're asking all the good questions. But they've seen that sign that says Life Plan Community, and they've driven by Stone Ridge Creek. They've driven by a couple others, and they know some friends that might have moved in, and they're asking, Dana, what the heck is a CCRC? What is that? Like, what is that? And it's a little bit of a different animal also. So I'm hoping that, again, the folks today that are watching are getting a feel and a flavor for, there's a lot of different options out there. So John and Mary want to go tour Stone Ridge Creek. And so what should they expect, Barbara? I mean, what the heck is a Life Plan Community? How do you compare and contrast? What do you offer? How is it different than maybe an assisted living? And how is it different than a Rossmore? Tell me all about it.
I love that question. Thank you so much. And actually, as I was listening to Michelle and Tim and you talk, I kind of was sitting here thinking, if you would have told me a year ago that I would be presenting virtually on video, looking at my own face, I would have thought you were all crazy. So how far we have all come in a year, and the fact that, all of you are logged in listening and are able to do that just at the drop of a hat. I mean, it's just testament to how our world has changed so much, and we've all adapted, which is really, really, really fantastic. But to get to your question about a Life Plan Community, I love that I'm going third, because I think if you took what Tim said and what Michelle said, and then you kind of overlapped it, Stone Ridge Creek is a hybrid of both of those things. So what a Life Plan Community like Stone Ridge Creek tries to do is to say, instead of, or maybe for you, the option isn't as exciting to leave from your home and move to one place, and then as your care needs change, move to another place, and then even potentially a third place, or to manage that process for your spouse as you are maybe at one level of needs and requirements and your spouse is at another. So what a Life Plan Community or a continuing care retirement community tries to do is solve the problems and challenges associated with the geography of aging and also the finances of aging. So we try to entice folks who are planners by nature and want to make their own decisions. So they want to move from their family home of 40 or sometimes 50 years even, and find a solution that will allow them for the rest of their lives in most cases to address all of what their needs might be. And not knowing what those needs are, they want to have options for all of those. So every continuing care retirement community is not the same. Dana and I were kind of talking about that before this. So what it basically means in broad terms is we are offering more than one level of care. At Stone Ridge Creek, it's very comprehensive. We have 565 independent living residences. We're on a 50-acre campus. And then adjacent to us is Creekview, which sort of like Michelle's program offers assisted living, memory care, but also skilled nursing care. So again, from your independent and very active lifestyle in our independent area, which, 2 swimming pools, pitch and putt golf amenity, bocce, horseshoes, pickleball, tennis, dog parks, all of those things, lifelong learning programs, lecture series, all of those, fitness center, gym, et cetera, all of those things are available to you while you're independent and active and want to use those things. We have multiple restaurants and dining venues. It's a very, it's very much an all-inclusive type program. Before 2020, I'd compare it to a cruise ship style living, but we don't like to talk about cruise ships as much anymore. So I wouldn't necessarily use that comparison, but the idea that you can kind of transfer yourself to this location that has a very miniature city, not nearly the size of a Rossmore, but sort of a miniature one right here where you can offer that, but also then walk next door to visit your friends, family, spouses that have transitioned to Creekview for that higher level of care to provide those services that you might need. So that's really overall what we try to provide. As far as types of homes, we have everything from a studio to a very large, almost 3,000 square foot villa. So single story homes with garages. We have condo style homes, we have apartment style homes, we have penthouses, everything in between. So multiple, almost 30 floor plan types, I believe, if I were counting, and some offshoots here and there. Our pricing and our fees, it does involve what's called an entrance fee, which is sort of an upfront payment that's very similar to purchasing a home. Starts anywhere from here, and again, I'm not speaking for other communities. Other life plan communities may not have a program with a large entrance fee. Some have smaller entrance fees, but there is no repayment to your estate when you leave. Some have larger entrance fees, but there is a percentage that is always going to be going back to your estate or to you if you move out. That's the type of program that we have. Our entrance fees start just under $400,000. They can go as high as $2 million. It really depends on what you are looking for and what type of home you are seeking out. We have monthly service fees that are inclusive of all of the things. So all of the activities, the amenities, the restaurants, the housekeeping services, linen services, all of the home repair and appliances, those things are all inclusive for you as well. Every home, regardless of its size, has a fully equipped kitchen, washer, dryer. We're maintaining those appliances for you as well. That monthly fee, though, what I think is important, and this is also something to ask as you're exploring life plan communities, is will my fee change when I transition to long-term care? So if I move from independent living to assisted living, am I going to pay more for those services? Are those services available, or are those services included? It's a very, very important question to ask, because as you're comparing pricing, that makes a big difference. At Stonebridge Creek, it is included. So there's some requirements for that. You need to qualify health-wise when you move in. In other words, you can't have pre-existing conditions that make it more of a certainty that you would need that care. But provided you are a senior kind of living your life and maybe have a couple of little things, we don't expect you to run marathons, but provided that's the case, then it's more likely than not that your contract would include long-term care, even up through skilled nursing care, at the fees you were already paying at Stonebridge Creek. That's a massive enticement if you're familiar with costs of what those things can include. That's true even for a couple. Even if one member of the couple is living independently and the other one has moved permanently to long-term care, the fees would stay the same. So that's important to talk about. And there's a few nuances to that, which I'm happy to meet with anyone who has more specific questions to go through. Other life plan communities might offer that at a discounted rate or at a discount for a certain number of days. So again, just something you really want to find out when you move in. I think Dana's going to ask me about the regulations and the regulatory agencies for our communities. We are regulated by both. So independent and assisted living are both licensed under residential care facilities for the elderly, which is the Department of Social Services. And then our skilled nursing facility is regulated by the Department of Health. So those are the two agencies that we report to. And I'm trying to think what was also on my list. What did I forget, Dana?
Well, no, that's awesome, because I'm going to go into more depth. But you, I mean, I've experienced a number of life plan communities, and they also are very beautiful. I mean, Stonebridge Creek is a really gorgeous place, also with the gardens and the creeks, and that, like, you have a river going through the property.
Yeah.
And the pools and the dining rooms and the high ceilings and what have you. Michelle, who oversees assisted living, like a place like yours, the assisted living memory care, similar to what Barbara mentioned?
You mean from a licensing standpoint?
Yeah, the oversight. Yeah.
Yes. The Department of Social Services. Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay. So we did touch a little bit about pricing, because of course everybody wants to know, well, what is all this lovely, what are all these lovely amenities and things, you know, what do they cost? Tim mentioned the prices of purchasing the different homes in Rossmore, ranging from, and I don't see 200,000 very often, Tim, but I'll believe you if you're telling me that. But there is a one-time fee to be a resident of Rossmore, right, Tim?
Right. So, so just to answer your question about the cost or of the the housing prices. Every once in a while, I actually see one for less than $200,000. So it doesn't happen often, but every
Right.
once in a while there is one. So generally, I think the median price in Rossmore is about 550,000. So if you're, to be 20 miles from San Francisco, in the heart of the East Bay, and to find how it is the most affordable housing that close to San Francisco. There, you aren't going to find anything cheaper anywhere certainly in the La Miranda, Alamo 680 corridor area. So it's a good value in terms of comparative pricing that is not in a senior housing development. There is an entrance fee. We call it a membership transfer fee. So you become a member of the Golden Rain Foundation, which is what entitles you to use all these various amenities. And pretty much everything is included in terms of the amenities in the fee that you pay, except for golf. Golf is subsidized, so golf is about, residents pay, I think, around $25 to play around a golf. That's about half of the cost because the monthly fee that everybody pays in the Rossmore contributes a little bit towards maintaining the golf operation. Then the monthly, we call it the coupon, but the monthly assessment, that's the more common term. The monthly assessment ranges, depending on which mutual or which homeowners association you live in, ranges from $700 to about $1,350 a month. And it depends. Some people say, well, how can there be such a disparity in the cost? Now, I should say that that number, 700 to 1,350, does not include the Waterford. The Waterford is, as I said earlier, is a separate congregate facility, and so it's quite a bit more expensive. I don't know what those rates are. We don't manage the Waterford. They're independently managed, so I don't know what their current costs are. Dana probably has more information on that than I do. But that's only 300 homes. The other 6,450 homes in Rossmore range between $700 and $1,350 a month. Included in that is your Comcast, your internet, all the amenities, and then depending on which homeowner association you're in, if you live in a stock co-op, that also includes the maintenance of your refrigerator, your appliances in your home, and all of that. So if your oven goes out, it gets replaced at no cost to you, or your refrigerator. If you live in a condo or in the single family homes, you have to repair and replace those on your own nickel. But then probably, you have to keep in mind this community is now, 57 years old. The first homes were built in 1964. The last homes were sold, I think, around 2005. So you have some, it took more than 40 years to build out Rossmore. So you have a huge variety of types of housing, both architectural style, sizes of the homes. And, early on, back in the 1960s, nobody owned two cars. So most of the older homes in Rossmore have a single parking, either garage or carport. And then as they developed over time and more people were needing and demanding two cars, either garage or carport, those were, they built it that way. And you mentioned, Dana, some homes have elevators and some don't. I shouldn't say homes, but some buildings might have elevators. But really, the developer's original intention when they built this as an active adult community, this was among the very first in the United States that was designed, dedicated to seniors. So the model at that time was in an active adult community, which meant that if you were coming here, you were going to be active. So they intentionally did not put elevators in the oldest buildings. So you have a lot of stairs to navigate. And if you're aging in place and you're in you're 65 or 70 years old when you move in, and you've been here now 10 years, you're now 75, 80, it might be a little more difficult to get up and down those stairs in those older housing developments. The newer ones, many of them that are high rises, will have elevators and the like. So it's easier to get up and down. So costs are definitely a consideration, and it just depends on what the individual homeowners associations are doing in terms of maintenance. Some have been very responsible for many years or decades even, and they have a lot of reserves set aside, maybe millions of dollars in reserves that can repair the roofs and do the painting and the decks and and the parking lot and the reslurrying and all that kind of thing. And some were not managed so well over the years. So different boards of directors wanted to artificially keep costs down, and eventually deferred maintenance catches up to you. And so the mutuals that are a little more expensive with the monthly fee, that's usually going to be why they're higher, is because they're playing catch up with deferred maintenance. And you know, when you live in a home, or a home was built 50 or 60 years ago, it's going to have a lot more maintenance than a home that was built, you know, 15 years ago, which are the newer homes in Rossmore. So a huge variety, both in housing choices, housing costs, and then the monthly fees. And all of those things are, if you're interested in Rossmore, you definitely want to talk to your realtor about all these different choices and options that are out there. So you're making sure you understand what you're getting in for when you're moving into a community like Rossmore.
Right, right. Yeah, and you know, if you're going to move into someplace like Rossmore, or even outside of Rossmore, and you want a lower maintenance home, typically there are going to be HOA fees, and you want to understand what you're getting into and what you're buying. So you're going to have to read, you know, 200, 300 pages of documentation, not every word, but you're going to just really want to understand, what do those fees cover? What are you allowed to do? And what are you not allowed to do? What are the rules and regs? So that really differs. We have had, we've helped some people move to other more maybe patio townhomes, condos outside of Rossmore, and a few of them actually don't have HOA fees, which is great because it keeps your monthly fees lower, but now you're still responsible for taking care of the vents and taking care of your roof and mowing the front lawn, even though it's a townhome. You know, one shared wall, maybe it's a duet. So, you know, you've got to kind of weigh those pros and cons, because most people are moving and downsizing to get away from that maintenance, right? To get away from the burden of taking care of and maintaining a home. Because they want to do more fun things. They want to travel when we can travel again. They want to see their grandkids, their friends, and go do all the things they love to do. So, and I think you touched on pricing also, Michelle and Barbara. And I know, and I don't know if we're going to have time to cover it, but, you know, we've had a lot of natural disasters recently, right? And I know, Tim, you've spoken before with me about emergency procedures. And I don't know if that's something that the group wants to hear about, but just real quickly, I know that you do have those in place in Rossmore. I mean, because people sometimes ask me, well, there's a gate going in and there's the same gate going out, and you've got 10,000 people there. And what happens if there's a fire or an earthquake? And then I'll probably ask the same of the other Michelle and Barbara too.
Yeah, you know, I think if I get several thousand inquiries a year across my desk, so I'm constantly responding to people's, you know, issues, complaints, problems, whatever. And that's just my desk. We have an active work order desk that gets, you know, something like 50,000 calls a year that just dealing with people's maintenance issues.
Man.
So I would say that if I was to take all of the concerns that people that are not necessarily related to, you know, a maintenance issue on their home, but just the overall concern about living in a senior community or anywhere as we get older, I think personal safety is issue number one for people. And whether it's, you know, safety in their home, safety in their kitchen, safety when they're getting in their car, safety when they're getting out of their car, when they're driving on our streets, when they're coming into our facilities, safety is issue number one. And, you know, you can see in the photo behind me, that's one small area of Rossmore. It's a valley that's basically a bowl, and the golf courses run down the middle, the clubhouses run down the middle, and the housing are built kind of on the slopes and the hillsides around the valley. And because we have 2,000 acres, we have a lot of open space, hundreds of acres of open space, and there's a lot of concern about fire, especially after the Paradise fire from a couple years ago. So we have a very active emergency. There's an organization called the Emergency Preparedness Organization. It's one of our clubs. It has hundreds of members. They have what are called entry coordinators. Each entry coordinator is responsible for the people who live in a given, basically a driveway, and the homes that are around a given driveway. And they're one of their duties is to find out who needs help in the event of an emergency, whether they've are physically immobilized for whatever reason, or have some kind of special needs like breathing equipment or medications or whatever. So the entry coordinators kind of monitor that and take care of that, and so they get to know all the people who live in their entry. So there's a lot of things. We've got an active, we have Securitas, which is an international security firm that provides the security for Rossmore. We have the gate. There are a number of what we call emergency access points to get out of the valley or into the valley in the event of an emergency. We can't activate that. The police and the fire departments only can do that. So there are some other ways to get in and out of Rossmore in the event of some, dire emergency. But we're in tune to this. We just had a conference call last week with the city manager for Walnut Creek and the police department and the fire department, just to talk about exactly this, about how, what are we going to do around evacuation planning for a community
Nice.
this size, with a lot of residents who are probably frail, to be frank, that have aged in place and that it might have difficulty getting out of here quickly. So we actively plan for these kinds of things, and there's everybody has a responsibility of their own to be prepared, whether you live in Rossmore or you live in any of the other communities that you're listening to here today. Everybody has some level of personal responsibility to make sure that they know where their medicines are, where their important papers are, where they're going to go in the event of having to be evacuated from wherever they're living. So yeah, we try to be on top of it. It's a never-ending job, and I heard in the newspaper this morning they were talking about us being in another drought. So it just means that the fire risk accelerates in concern to everybody.
Right. Well, thanks, Tim. And you know what? Because of our time and because we have so much darn good information, we're not going to have Barbara and Michelle address this, but I know darn well that they've got emergency plans in place. That goes without saying. And if you wanted to know about them, of course, we can get you in touch with them. But wow, we have covered a lot. And as you all three were talking, I have personally about 10 more questions for each of you that I could ask, because I want our attendees to hear the answers for those questions, but that will need to be for another time because we try to stay around an hour. And so a couple things that I want to call out is I want to give a shout out to our amazing sponsors, because without our amazing sponsors, we wouldn't still be doing this 4 years later. And we've got silver and platinum sponsors. And so our silver sponsors include Oakmont of Montecito, and our contact there is Michaela Olson. It includes Mutual of Omaha Lending, and we have Marty Apple and Martha Eccles. And we have got Efficiency Matters, which is organizing and move management help, and that is Jennifer Raftis. Carlton Pleasant Hill and Martinez, and that is Mary Gaffilo. And Live Home In-Home Care, Dale Martin is our contact for Live Home In-Home Care, and Matthew Avedikian with Avedikian Law Group. And so I am going to also give 60-second intro, if I can find on my panel here, our platinum sponsors, which include Byron Park, Merrill Lynch, and Care Patrol. So let's see if I can find them here. And I see Mike. And so let's have Mike do a little quick intro.
Good morning.
Mike,
sorry.
Hey, just say hello. Say quick good morning and tell us who you are real quick.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Mike Awadala with Care Patrol. We're a senior placement agency. Care Patrol is a nationwide agency. We can help seniors moving anywhere in the U.S. I am the owner of the Walnut Creek office. I cover most of Contra Costa and Alameda County. If anybody need my help, my service is 100% free for the families. We're compensated by the senior living communities. Thank you, everyone.
That's awesome. Paula, are you there? I see your name, but I don't see your pretty face. Maybe she stepped away. So Paula represents Byron Park, which is just down the street from Rossmore, actually. And it offers assisted living as well as independent living. And it's yet another opportunity of a community that you might want to explore. Also, as you're doing your homework and your due diligence, just like Mary and John have been. And I do not see Annalise. So Annalise Morris King, who was recently married to her honey, she is with Merrill Lynch, the Morris Group. And I also am a platinum sponsor, Dana Wilson, the Dana Wilson Real Estate Team. And we just love being part of this group and all the wonderful information that we bring to the table every month. Wanted to give you a heads up that next month, April 7th, we're going to start digging into letting go. Letting go of things, letting go of maybe a home that doesn't serve you anymore. And we're going to dig into the emotions of letting go. And that'll be step one in a 3-part presentation for April, May, and June, talking about the stuff. How do you begin to let go? How do you begin emotionally, psychologically to let go of things or places that maybe don't serve you anymore? And then we're going to dig into, okay, fine. So we've gotten through that. Now, what do we do with all the stuff that we've happily let go of? And so we're going to dig into that a little bit farther. And if you are inviting a friend today, if somebody that is attending today for the first time was invited by someone else, please let us know, because we have a wonderful raffle prize every month that we will get to you for inviting your friends. So that would be awesome if you'd let us know. And of course, if you have further questions for any of these amazing local seasoned experts that gave of their time and wisdom today, we will make sure that you have all their contact information in our follow-up email that you shall receive by the end of this week. So with that, I don't see any questions for today, which I'm shocked because there's a lot of information we covered. But just know that, we've run the gamut from active adult communities to life plan communities to assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing, or your own townhome, patio house, condo. And we're going to have Steven Zimmerman join us today, and he had actually an emergency he had to attend to. He represents yet another opportunity, which is a it's a co-op in Alameda, and that's a completely different setup. So, so many options, and we'd love to help you, all of us, kind of work through that short and long-term plan while you're doing your due diligence, do your homework, and looking at what is going to be right for you today and in the future. So with that, I'm going to just wish you all a wonderful Wednesday, and we hope to see you again next month. So thank you again, Tim, Michelle, Barbara, Mike, Paula, and Annalise, and all of our amazing sponsors. I wish you well, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.